Ask the water a question. Nobody got it. Oh, well. My buddy Saban. Well, it's great to be back with you all. Kind of looking forward to the year, as you can imagine, and it's kind of fun to get started. Unique thing this week with the play of Ferris, who happens to be a very, very, very good Division II team with a lot of players back. And then the situation with Georgia, took place. Mark Hollis and his staff have been working on it diligently for the last 3-4 days and trying to where are we going to play, who are we going to play, what we're going to do. And I think this worked out pretty well to play them on Sunday. So our team has been practicing pretty good. We're pretty much injury-free. Kyle Arns was the only guy that really wasn't practicing full, and he might be able to start practicing 3/4 full this week. Everybody else is pretty much healthy and ready to go. So I'll just open up for some questions.
Tom, I guess I want to ask you a little bit more about playing Georgia on Sunday, how that came together, how that can benefit you guys as well, kind of fitting in another game.
Getting another game in, I just felt a little bit almost, I wouldn't say obligated to do it, but privileged and obligated to do it because, you not only can help, the Houstons, the Miamis, the Georgias, the Bahamas, the Puerto Ricos, all those areas that have been hit. And with Tom on our team, we felt that instead of being one of the teams that didn't do it, we just thought it would be advantageous to do it for that. And then when we were able to play some high-quality teams, and I know Mark Fox pretty well, and we talked about playing, and it just worked out. I mean, Hollis worked it all out, to be honest with you, after the initial phone call, and he and his staff, I thought, did a great job on it, and we're going to Van Andel for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's been absolutely crazy around here for all our auxiliary people, from our police officers to our ticket people to everybody else. I think they had 5 football games out of 6 weeks or something, right? Huh? Sort of 7. So they've been going nonstop, and we talked about trying to get down to Detroit, but it was unavailable. And we have such a great fan base in Grand Rapids, and so we thought it would be a mini road trip, which might help us a little bit, acclimate everybody back to what it's like to go on the road and get to an area of the state that we think we have a lot of fans over there, but not everybody gets to come over here and go to games, and yet our fans from here and every other part of the state can get there. So I think the quality of opponent is really going to be good for us in the early season. And so I think, in all honesty, Ferris is a very good team. Georgia is a very, very, very good team. Hillsdale is very solid. They're all well-coached teams, which means they're going to play good defense. They're going to create some problems, and so it all came together.
Tom, I know in these exhibition games you like to give everyone as much run as they can, but with Sunday being a really unique opportunity for Xavier to play for the second time in a Spartan uniform in his hometown, might you be giving him some extra minutes just to, show off for friends and family?
He might. That's not a bad idea, Thinking about that from a Michigan guy, that's a pretty good idea, to be honest with you. But I am going to still play the game like an exhibition game, as you say. I mean, it's important to learn how to win, but I think for this year's team, it's important that we try to play different combinations and different people, and maybe we'll start different lineups and try to play guys together. I think that's going to be my biggest chore, is figuring out who comes off the bench better, who plays well together, different combinations. Kind of the funny combination that we found is Tom and Cassius have played really well together. So there'll be some different looks, which will be confusing at time, but I think this will all be good. And getting Xavier back home is a treat. You don't get to do that very often, and for any player except Denzel. He had it that way every game. But so I think it'll be a unique experience for him, and yet a good one for all of us, including Georgia, who I think, as I said, with Mayton, kid from down here in Bloomfield, their best player and one of the better big men in the country, it'll be a good test for us in that respect.
Tom, every preseason before the games start, you learn something about your team, good or bad, that you didn't expect. So this year, what have you learned in these preseason practices that you did not expect?
Well, the energy level has kind of maintained from the summer on, and that's odd. I've had some NBA guys in, and that's the first thing they said. You guys play with a lot of energy. We'll see if that continues on. I've also been pleased that people have gotten better at what they weren't very good at. Nick has improved his ball screen defense and his conditioning. There's no question that Josh Langford and Cassius are in much better physical shape. Miles is in much better physical shape. It's been good to see with their two bigs, Gavin and Ben, Gavin's really done a remarkable job. He's kind of like Brandon Dawson. He's come off that injury, and he's really handled it well. He's almost full go with almost zero restrictions, even on time. And Ben, who's still under some restrictions, has been good. I mean, he can do a lot of things. He can pass the ball. He can make an offense run smoother. So most of our things have been on a positive side this year. So I'm going to just keep my fingers crossed. Hopefully that'll continue to happen.
Tom, you don't have to be on that evil Twitter for your players to know the expectations for them this year. Does that become one of those distractions, or do you kind of welcome this challenge to be considered among the big boys again?
I think it's a privilege. I think it's earned over a period of time. It better not be a distraction. If it is, that's my fault and my players' fault, because hopefully they came here for this. It's not, we've been ranked in the top 5 more than a few times in the preseason, but I said, the internal pressure is just about always the same. I know what we're playing for every year, just about every year, that we have a chance. That's the goal, as far as to play for a Big Ten championship and play deep into the tournament and all that. As I said earlier to you guys, the difference is now twofold. You didn't give it enough. You just said evil Twitter. It's evil, evil, evil Twitter. We got to get a few more evils in there, and that means the outside world feels, is talking about it. Whether that distracts our guys because they're all on those damn phones, but I think that's my job, my captain's job, and actually the maturity of my team to see if they can handle that. We'll find out soon enough.
Hey, Tom. 2 for you. On the game, often when loopholes in the rules kind of emerge, they end up becoming standard practice. Is something like this, this added exhibition versus D1, do you think this is something that becomes a normal thing?
I hope not, for 2 reasons. Number one, I hope we don't have that many hurricanes in one season and that much devastation around the country or around the world. But 2, there actually has been more talk about cutting a game, with all the games we're playing and the time we're missing. And one of the reasons we had a little trouble scheduling this game is I was not going to miss another day of school. It's so ironic. I think I told you this story, or maybe I didn't because it was after, but when our football team got back from Minnesota a week and a half ago, which probably a lot of you did, but you guys flew back the next morning, I saw Hollis on Monday morning, and he come dragging into my office. His eyes looked like they looked awful. And I said, "You all right? You feeling good?" "Yeah, I'm just tired, man. We didn't get in till 3:30 in the morning." And I felt like slapping my AD. I said, "That's normal practice for us. How would you like to get up the next day and go to class and then have practice and have a game a day later?" So I don't think this will be the norm. I think it was the exception. The problem is nowadays, whenever you make an exception, promoters get a hold of it, boom, boom, boom. I would vote for it not to be the norm. I might vote for being able to play whoever you want in the 2 exhibition games. I might vote for that. but I wouldn't vote for more games. I think that's hard on the guys, and I just think it's good the way it is.
And my second one, when the way that you talk about Tom and his leadership and all of that stuff, I guess what kind of gives you the confidence that when he hears you talk about him so much differently than other people and say these kind of grand things like greatest leader in program history, all those types of things, that it doesn't become a burden or be too much for a guy?
You know, it's just a gut feel, you know, but when Mateen Cleaves tells me it, when Draymond Green told me it when he was a freshman, that I should be naming him captain in that, he's inspired a lot of people in the same way. But the best way I can tell you is his teammates probably do it more than I would do it. And so, you know, he feels where it's Miles' job to maybe be the leading scorer and rebounder and all the things he's got to do, and it's Nick's job to do that. I think he looks at it, it's part of his job, and a big part of his job. I had one pro scout the other day that said, you know, I used to spend time when I was an assistant coach in the league or in college. It seems like you spend half the day trying to get people energetic and fired up. He said that kid walks in the building and everybody changes. And so I guess that is a lot to put on a guy, and if it is, I say it's totally a compliment. And like I say with all my guys, if you can't handle the heat in the kitchen, you picked a bad place to come. And you know, I think everybody has to do that at the great programs, and his is just a little different, that he's looked on almost more for his leadership skills than even some of his basketball skills. But I feel if you left here and you went and asked Miles or Cassius or you know, Jaron or Josh, Matt Costello, they'd all tell you the same thing. So you know, every year you're talking about somebody being one of the best you ever had. He is one of the best leaders I've ever had, and it's strictly a compliment.
Tom, adding that third game, you mentioned all off-season about trying to find those combinations. First of all, how much does the quality of opponent help in that? And secondly, how much does just having that extra game allow you to maybe experiment a little bit more than you could have?
Well, you know, what's going to happen is we're going to talk, not you guys, I mean, it's just normal, especially since it's going on sale tomorrow and it's a unique game. We're going to talk about Georgia a lot, and then we'll go and play like not very good against Ferris, and that'll hurt us. So this will be a good test to see if we can handle one game at a time, one practice at a time. Tom's been very good about relaying that to our guys. Let's get a little better each day. But when that day comes, because I think it's worthy to talk about it, since number one, we want to sell tickets, number two, it's at a late time, playing a quality opponent that is as well coached, playing against a big man that averaged 18 a game in that league last year, playing against a team that gave us a run a couple years ago when I think we had the better team, so that tells you how well coached they are. I think it's going to benefit us for that early regular season. You know, we got North Florida, we got Duke, we got that big tournament, we got Notre Dame. I mean, all that's in the first couple of weeks. And so I don't know if experimenting will be as good as maybe getting punched in the mouth, because that team is going to come in, they're going to play very hard, they're going to play very good defensively. I'm anxious to see if we've improved defensively as much as I think we have. And as every football coach will tell you, and a lot of basketball coaches, you get to this time of year, you need to play somebody. And I think this is going to benefit us in the long run, because, you know, we're still awfully young. I mean, you know, as I said, we're still going to have 2 freshmen. We're going to still have 4 sophomores. You know, the 2 juniors, the kids and the seniors, those guys have been off a year because of injuries or whatever. So, yeah, it's going to be a good time to see if Matt McQuaid can come back against quality people. Kenny Goins, how he plays. How does Jaron and X play in these kind of games, and whether our super sophomores play like that or whether they, you know, don't. And I think this will be a good test for him no matter what happens.
Tom, you mentioned more Tom and Cassius together than you anticipated. What do you like about that combination?
For some reason, they've been playing well together. You know, you talk about a unique duo, too. I mean, even though I think everybody understands that Cassius is the guy that we sort of recruited to run this team, and still really plan on that. But he and Tom get along so well, there's no animosity there. I'm moving them back and forth a lot, and they get along well together, and they've helped each other. You know, I think Cassius is trying to help Tom with his shot, and Tom is trying to help Cassius with his defense. And every day it's amazing how they got to go at each other, but they made each other better because of it. So I just think that, you know, maybe they're going to play together, because when I have played them together, they've been very effective. Cassius Winston right now is shooting the ball as good as anybody we got. And as I told his dad a couple of times now, I didn't see that in high school. I told his high school coach I didn't see that in high school, because he was so good at getting to the rim and doing things. But the guy has got a nice looking shot. He's shot it well. He makes good decisions. He runs the lane almost harder in the two spot than sometimes at the point. So I think it's going to be a good combination to move around once in a while, depending who's playing well and what's going on.
Tom, you told us you were thinking about a starting lineup, but for the first game, have you established one yet?
I haven't. I honest to God haven't. No secrets. Don't want to, you know, hold my quarterback back so that Ferris doesn't know who I'm starting. I think in the next day, we were off yesterday, we'll practice today, then we're going to sit down and meet and try to put our scenarios together. Number one will be who we start. And some of that's pending, too, on you got Gavin yet and what we want to do with Gavin, how much we want to play him and Ben in these preseason games early. I mean, they got to play some, but how much do I want to play them? That's going to determine that. And then, two, there'll be a good chance that whoever starts at the start of the game won't start at halftime. And I don't mean completely, but I do want to make some changes just so I see how different people, you know, come off the bench and different people start and different who's ready to go. And plus I can hold a hammer over their head a little bit on that. So, you know, I mean, I think by tomorrow I'll have who's going to start. I'm pretty sure right now that I'll start Miles. And other than that, I'm kind of up in the air.
Tom, other than making Saturdays more fun, I'm curious how the rebound of the football team, the success of the football team this year changes the way you do things, changes your job. You've talked a lot about that in the past.
Yeah, you know, my thing hasn't changed in 34 years now, or for the 34th year. Football's my favorite sport. I make no bones about it. Love basketball, but I love football. And when they win, you know, last two games I got to be on the sidelines for the last quarter, and it just makes everybody feel better, you know. And what has been good for me is Mark always talks about how he used me, pluses and minuses. You know, when we had distractions, when we didn't, I told him stories of what it was like certain years, and sometimes we won with distractions, sometimes we lost with them, sometimes we won with average teams, and sometimes we won with great teams. And now I'm watching this team, and, you know, we talked after last year. We talked, Mark and I talked with my team about, you know, did the distractions get to people? Did all the hype of the recruiting, you know, what happened? And this year, you kind of look at it, and I always said the mark of great programs, we're not going to be there every year. You know, Duke, Kentucky, I mean, they have struggled. Kansas, they have gone there years when they've struggled. But the mark of the real great programs are if you get knocked down, if you get almost KO'd, you know, is the foundation of the house strong enough to withstand that and, you know, not have to start building from scratch, but maybe start building from, the second story again, or the first floor up or something. And I think he's done an incredible job, and I think he's proven the point that the best players don't always win, the best rated players don't always win, the players who play the best win. And I told our players, we're in a situation where we have a lot of good players. And if they think that they win because they're good players, we're in trouble. And I said, just look across the street, and they go to all the games, and they're there in the sidelines before the games. I say, watch how people act, and then I ask them. And so I'm not going to lie to you. It motivates me. I hope it motivates my team. And I think that it's a statement, It's a statement that I use with my own son. When somebody falls down and gets back up and performs to the level they've performed to, and they've got a long ways to go yet, we all know that, but it's just a plus, it's uplifting, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. Sean?
Tom, I know you said, over here on your right.
Over here.
I know you said you'll start Miles on Thursday, whenever, for that 7 p.m. tip-off. Do you know how much he's going to play the 4 yet at all, or is that kind of going to be determined by those confusing lineups that you mentioned as well?
No, you know me in most of these preseason games, I've tried to play players somewhat evenly. I'm not going to change because he's Miles Bridges, and I know he wouldn't want me to. So I expect to play 10, 11 guys. I expect to I do not think that Kyle will be able to play either way, or we wouldn't want to play him in that. I think he'll be able to start practicing full go, but want to get a little more practice time in before we get him in a game. But I think if you were betting on the over or under, which we're not allowed to bet, but you are, I would say that a lot of those guys are going to play somewhere between 16 and 22 minutes.
Anything else for Tom?
He had a foot, like a stress reaction. He was on crutches. He was no surgery or anything, I don't think. Did he? Yeah. So it was in the summer, and he's doing really well. And he had such a great summer that it happened at the end of the summer, and but he's raring to go.
Just the thought that, asking about whether Miles will play the 4 or the 3 or how much at each, I guess, is it easier or harder for guys to transition back to their natural position, like where you had to play him maybe down at the 4 and Josh to the 3? Is it easier to go the other way?
Yeah, I mean, it's like saying, where was a guy drafted, or where would a guy be drafted, I don't know if anybody knows what Miles' natural position is. I watched him for 3 years. I didn't see any natural position. He played center some, he played guard some. Right now, I think we better realize that most cases, there's 4 perimeter guys and a center. In some cases, there's 5 perimeter guys. Very seldom is there. Josh Jackson's 6'11" and probably spent more time outside than inside. It's just the nature of the way the game has gone. So the adjustment Miles had to make was the same one Draymond tried to make, but, Miles is a little better athlete, although Draymond had such a high IQ. But and when Draymond played here, the trend wasn't quite the same as it is now. So the biggest thing Miles had to work on was, can he guard perimeter guys? Those guards that are running all over the place, And can you handle the ball when you're being guarded by a perimeter guy? If you're guarded by a 4 or 5 man, it's easier to handle the ball than if you're guarded by Tom. And so those are the 2 adjustments that I think he had to make. His shooting was no problem. The running of the lane last year, he didn't run the middle very well, because he wasn't in the shape. This year he's running like a receiver, So I think it's been really good. I can move Miles in a lot of different places. Hell, as I said, if he wants to coach the team, I can move him there. Because he just doesn't care. He he truly cares about winning. He's not worried about, where he fits in. I've had a lot of NBA people say now that there's more 6'6", 6'7" guys playing the 4 than the 3 almost. You would know that. That's around the league. It's like everybody's gotten smaller, and but when somebody asks me what is Miles, he's a ball player. He's a ball player, and a damn good one. Anything else? I got to go with the Dodgers, man. Magic. I got to go with the Dodgers. A couple of years ago, he sent us some jackets and hats. We took a nice picture and sent it out to him. So I got to go with the Dodgers. If it was the Yankees and Dodgers, I would have maybe swallowed. My dad loved the Yankees. I was never a big Yankee fan, but what that manager went through and how he almost stuck it up their ear, I kind of was starting to really pull for the Yankees. But I am definitely pulling for the Dodgers. No insult intended to anybody. Although the pitcher's fiance makes me lean a little bit to the Astros, but other than that, it's all Dodgers. On that note, bag that from Twitter. I'll probably get. But hey, enjoy it. I think this thing is going to be a great week for us because Thursday, Sunday, Friday, I think is going to be good for us. And hopefully, good for you, and hopefully we'll go over to Chicago and play well there. That's the most important part of the week, to be honest. Thanks.